Hello. Hi guys, happy Monday. Trust that all is well with all of you. I hope that you would have had a relaxing evening, that you're continually enjoying the month of July. We're here smack dab in the middle of it, and I'm hoping that thus far July as usual is treating you well. So I hope that all is well. I hope that you would have had a relaxing, rejuvenating, revitalizing weekend. I hope that you would have been able to do something that would have said to you, hey, I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm taking care of you. So I'm hoping that you would have had to stop for a minute, take a pause, do some deep breaths, take a run down to the beach and just soak all of life away, rinse off, come off, and go again. I hope that you would have done something, that one thing on your list concerning you would have been done, and you are here refreshed and revitalized for this new week and ready and raring to go with full batteries. So today I am doubling on, haven't decided what the topic is as yet, but I am bringing together both the last session and all 10 parts of our previous episodes on prayer. Today we're going to read about a particular lady. Now last week we mentioned and I spoke to us about God having a plan, and that God usually, all the time, always knows what the full bandwidth of the timeline looks like, and we sometimes get a very small window, very small peep at what all of God's plans are for our lives. In fact, the little bit that He allows us to see sometimes is not even anything remotely close to what the big expanse of His plans are. So we spoke about the fact that Joseph, from a boy, was part of God's plan for God's provision for all the people that he had to feed during the famine. And in this story here that we're going to read about, this wonderful lady named Hannah, who had an experience where she was in pain for the thing that she was requesting and praying about. And so I just want to highlight her consistency in prayer. I want to highlight the travail and the efforts and the energy and all that it took for her to pray the prayers that she prayed, to have the faith that she had for God to do something on her behalf. And in addition to which, to also highlight that, like I spoke about last week, the fact that there are times things happen that God is the orchestrator, the architect behind the whole happenings. So I'm reading 1 Samuel chapter 1, and it says, I'm reading from the ESV version. There was a certain man of Ramathim Zophim, of the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph and Ephrathite. He had two wives. The name of one was Hannah and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Problem, right? Now this man used to go up year by year from his city to worship and to sacrifice to the Lord of hosts at Shiloh, where the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests of the Lord. And the day when Elkanah sacrificed, he would give portions to Peninnah his wife and to all his sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion, because he loved her, though the Lord had closed her womb. And even though she wasn't producing as normal women would, he still favored her and gave her a double portion. So even in the midst of her wanting and desiring, she was still very blessed. And her rival, but to Hannah he gave a double portion, verse 5, because he loved her, though the Lord had closed her womb, and her rival used to provoke her grievously to irritate her, because the Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed her womb. So it went on year by year, just as I explained with Joseph. From the age of 17, he was sold as a slave. And years upon years would have passed before that thing that God would have ministered to you, that plan that God would have had, actualized into what it was supposed to be. Years. So in her case here, so it went on year by year. As often as she went up to the house of the Lord, she used to provoke her. Therefore Hannah wept and would not eat. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? And why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not more to you than 10 sons? After they had eaten and drunk in Shiloh, Hannah rose. Now Eli the priest was sitting at the seats beside the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. She was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. In the midst of her deep distress, Hannah prayed. She vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the afflictions of your servant and remember me, and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. If you will indeed look on the affliction of your servant and remember me, Lord, remember me. Verse 12 says, and she continued praying before the Lord. Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart, only her lips moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman. Now you had to be under a different level of distress where the deep sorrow that's showing on your face, that's in your heart, coming out without a sound. You ever get licks long time and it's so, the lick's so hot that you can't ball the ball you want to ball, you just and nothing coming out, and you're just waiting, like the scream can't come out. The intensity. As she continued praying before the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart, only her lips moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman. Verse 14. And Eli said to her, how long will you go on being drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered, no, my Lord. I am a woman troubled in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord. Pouring out my soul before the Lord. The depth of the prayer, the intensity of the prayer, the deepness of the pain and the misery that she was experiencing caused her to pour out her soul. Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman. That's verse 16. For all along I have been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation. Then Eli answered her, go in peace, and the Lord God of Israel grant your petition that you have made to him. And she said, let your servant find favor in your eyes. Then the woman went away and ate, and her face was no longer sad. Listen to me, a good word. A word in season. An answer to prayer that have not even yet left your lips. A word of encouragement, a word of direction, a word of guidance, a word. A word of wisdom, a word of knowledge that could come to you in the right time, could listen, turn a frown into a smile, turn sadness into rejoicing. Then the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. They rose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and they went back to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Now if we go back up to I'm going to find the verse. Verse 11. She said, and she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look at the affliction of your servant and remember me, and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. And she said, coming back down to verse 19, it says, and Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. So that thing that she prayed about, that exact request, Lord remember me, the Lord remembered her. And in due time, Hannah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Samuel, for she said, I have asked for him from the Lord. So she asked. God granted her request, and she named him Samuel, and that meant, I have asked for him from the Lord. I just want to encourage us very briefly today. I know I said briefly last time, and I wasn't brief. To be even in bitterness of sorrow, even in vexation of the event and happenings that have been happening, and for the years that it has been happening, even in that, be consistent year after year, month after month, week after week, day after day, hour after hour. Be consistent in prayer. Hannah went up year after year, wept bitterly, wept in sorrow, prayed in vexation because of the bitterness of the experience, and poured out her soul continually before God. So much so her husband had to ask, oh God, I just be doing extra for you. Am I not better than 10 sons? But she insisted, and she continued praying, and she continued asking. And she said, Lord, remember me. And the Lord remembered her. It was the Lord who closed her womb. And you would think, but God. But God. But the Lord remembered her. She prayed, and that thing that God was doing, God turned that around in her favor. I cannot say, go in peace. And may the Lord grant you your request, grant you your petition. My encouragement, and like I say, it might be stick to the plan / the prayer faith part 11. That might be the title. I want to encourage us. Do not stop praying. I don't care how sorrowful, how bitter in soul and mind and body and spirit, how deep in vexation you are concerning the situation. Ensure that prayer be consistent, that prayer be pour out your soul like Hannah before the Lord concerning that issue or situation or circumstance, as unpleasant, as provoking as that situation might be. And let me tell you, don't figure. Melina, you don't know. Listen to me well. Oh. There are circumstances, like I told somebody recently, a cross is a cross. I might watch your cross and think, yeah, days where you dragging so far, but it's heavy for you. And I might be carrying a cross, and somebody else might say, girl, been there, done that. It's not that bad. Trust me, it's not that serious. But for me, I am bitter, in bitter sorrow. My heart might be overwhelmed with sorrow, that I am pouring out my soul in prayer before God because of the weight of that cross. Whatever your cross. I am not here to judge the lightness of anybody's cross. All I want to encourage us is to the fact that the God that created us, the God that designed us, the God that has us here, living and breathing and moving and having our being, that God is the architect. He is the one that is in control. Like I said last week, He is the one that see you figure for them years. Hannah trips him up and down on the days when they had to go and make their sacrifice, year after year after year, with the same prayer, the same request, the same tears about the same situation. You figure he didn't hear? You figure he didn't hear year 1, year 2, year 3. You figure he didn't hear? When Miss Penina doing the most and passing in front of her and rubbing she belly, trust me, ladies, all you know how all you could be sometimes. I take it myself out. Passing and rubbing she belly. Oh my God. And doing the mostest to provoke Hannah. God was aware, God was seeing, He was very knowledgeable, and He saw how much pain that girl would have been going through, pregnancy after pregnancy. And the fact that the Bible could have said sons and daughters, she had at least 4. Because it it had to be multiple of each sex for it to be S added in. It's not sons and a daughter, sons and daughters. So she had multiple. So you going through that, the 9 months, the excitement. Oh, and I'm pregnant again. Seeing your husband rub a next woman's belly and you can't do one. The pain, the frustration, the psychological, emotional, mental, spiritual even beating that she would have been taken at that point in time during those periods. A pregnancy is not 2 months. A pregnancy is 9 months. And hearing a baby cry that is not your own. Just imagine all those things. And God would have been there, fully aware. And she continued praying. God continued hearing until the day God remembered her. My encouragement to all of us. The situation might be unpleasant. It might be bitter. You might be in sorrow of spirit. Let me tell you. There are times when you start to ask yourself, oh God, girl, you ain't tired crying. My tear ducts, they are overworked. Yeah, you might be that person. Please, just don't stop praying. Cry and pray. Beg God and pray. Quarrel. Sometimes I just find myself, I was like, oh God, this whole prayer session here was just me venting. Vent and pray. Just don't stop. Don't stop. Whether in vexation, whether in deep sorrow, do not stop praying. And just know that when that time, the time has arrived. Like I spoke about Joseph, there was a set time for that boy to leave that dungeon, that prison, for him to go and put into action the wisdom that was needed for the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of lack. There was a set time. At that appointed time, in quick, fast, and a hurry, from prisoner to prime minister, like I told earlier, in no way that happening here. There was a set time. So the set time for your thing, whatever that thing is to end, God knows it. And I am trying my uttermost best to be in a place where if you had to rock back your head and take a deep breath and say, yes, Lord, according to your will in your own time, give me the grace, give me the strength, that I don't abort the mission, that I don't deviate from the set plan, and that I follow and pursue your will according to your way. Pursue your way according to your will. Help me just to stay in the position, in the place that you have assigned me to, and not to abort the mission. It's not easy, but let me tell you, pray continuously. Pray effectual and fervent prayers. Pray prayer in sorrow, prayers in joy. Because after Eli said what he said to Hannah, my girl went and eat, and there was no more sadness on her face after that. Sometimes you just come into the place where you just tell yourself, you know what? It is what it is until it isn't. And it is what it is until it isn't. Until it is, in the meantime, God, just give me the grace, help me to maintain joy and to keep a peaceful, calm spirit, and to relax and ease, that you are in full control of my life and everything that pertains to it. It is not easy, It is not the most easy thing to do, my friend. I am not lying. It is not easy. But I just want to encourage us to, one, even in bitter sorrow, don't stop praying. And no, we could read the end results of these people's lives to give us some assurance, to give us some comfort that, hey, Melina, my girl, this person, Joseph, would have experienced this. God had a plan and he brought him out. Hey, Celia, Hannah would have experienced this. God had a plan and he brought her out. You, Melina, are experiencing this. God has a plan and he will bring you out. Replace Joseph. If you want to call yourself Josephine, go right ahead. If you're a male and you want to change from Hannah to Harold, you go right ahead. But put in your name and know that if God turned it around, that God could do the same for me. You're reading Job and you want to be called Jubilee or whatever Job name version, female version of Job you want to, you just fit in yourself and say, Lord, as you have brought these men and women out, I am praying and trusting that you will do the same for me, because this is your track record. This is why I've seen, based on your word, based on the accounts, the episodes that I have been reading here, I realized that this is what you're capable of, and I trust you, and I'm praying that God, you will give me peace of mind to remain at ease, even in a category 4 hurricane. Even with winds blowing at 150 miles per hour, roof flying off, help me to be as still as possible and know that you are God and you are well able to do exceedingly abundantly, far above what I could ask, think, or imagine. I don't think, and I'm going to tell you, Hannah had more than one son. Samuel was the first. She had more than one. God is able to do far above whatever we could come up with for ourselves. So I just want to encourage us, do not stop praying, knowing, being at peace, being comforted in the fact that God has a plan. He is aware and he will work it out. So that's my encouragement. I'm running away before it turns into 20 minutes, turn into 30 minutes. Have a fantastic week. Continue to enjoy the month of July. And grace and peace, blessings to all of you.